At 5 a.m., the holiday rush is in full swing across Moscow. Thousands of passengers are checking bags, completely unaware that the war they see on TV is currently flying toward them at 120 miles per hour. Just days ago, Vladimir Putin promised that Ukraine would pay a heavy price for sinking his shadow fleet in the Black Sea. He forgot that in a war of survival, the victim eventually stops asking for permission to hit back. 40 silent assassins are skimming the treetops just 50 feet above the snow-covered forests outside the capital. These are the FP-1s, Ukrainian-made long-range drones carrying a nasty surprise. 265-pound warheads designed to turn infrastructure into dust. Let's talk about the economics of this vengeance. Each FP-1 costs roughly $58,000, the price of a mid-range luxury car. They are flying straight into the teeth of the Moscow air defense ring, a multi-billion-dollar network of S-400s and Pantsir systems designed to stop nuclear war. On paper, this is a suicide mission. In reality, it is an asymmetric masterstroke. The Russians built a fortress to stop giants, but they forgot to seal the cracks against the ants. The countdown to the first impact is exactly 138 seconds. Moscow is waking up for Christmas, but they are about to receive a gift they cannot return. At 05:02 a.m., the swarm enters the red zone, the heavily defended airspace surrounding the Moscow Ring Road. This is where the FP-1 drones stop flying like aircraft and start flying like cruise missiles. They drop to a suicidal altitude of 50 feet, literally skimming the tops of the snow-covered pine forests. At this height, they are indistinguishable from ground clutter. In the bunker, Oleg's fingers are dancing across his keyboard like a concert pianist. It is minus 18 degrees Celsius outside, and the bunker isn't much warmer, but sweat is dripping down his forehead. He isn't using a joystick, he is coding flight path corrections in real time. But the real genius of this operation isn't the altitude, it is the digital shell game. Here is the secret: 70% of the drones in the air right now are fakes. They are cheap, stripped-down airframes loaded with nothing but radar reflectors designed to make them look like massive B-52 bombers on a Russian scope. The other 30%, the ones carrying the 265-pound warheads, are the silent assassins, flying in the radar shadow of the decoys. It is a hybrid navigation system that would make Elon Musk jealous. The drones are running a triple redundant stack: encrypted radio control, military-grade inertial guidance, and a backup AI vision system. When the inevitable Russian jamming hits, the drones don't crash. At 05:05 a.m. on the frozen outskirts of Moscow, the first Pantsir S-1 battery wakes up. This is the Greyhound, a mobile air defense system that Russia markets as the ultimate drone killer. Its phased array radar locks onto the lead group of signals, the decoys that are practically screaming to be shot. Then, 457 E-6 command-guided missiles tear off the rails in rapid succession, accelerating to Mach 4 in the blink of an eye. The physics of the engagement are brutal. The missiles close the distance instantly, detonating their fragmentation warheads and turning 4 Ukrainian drones into expanding fireballs of plastic and wire high above the tree line. Inside the command vehicle, the crew is cheering, but their celebration is the sound of a trap snapping shut. Here is the math that makes the Kremlin weep. Those 4 Russian interceptors cost roughly $300,000 apiece. That is $1.2 million in advanced rocketry burned in 20 seconds to shoot down 4 decoys that cost less than a used lawnmower. It is the military equivalent of using a gold bar to kill a cockroach. While the Pantsir crew is high-fiving over their victory, the real threat is slipping past them in the dark. A few miles away, the massive 92N6E gravestone radar of an S-400 battery is sweeping the stratosphere, looking for high-altitude bombers. It is completely blind to the real FP-1 warheads skimming the snow just 50 feet off the deck. The Russians are guarding the attic window with a shotgun while the burglar is quietly walking through the basement door. At 05:08 a.m., the Russian command decides to stop playing games with kinetic interceptors and reaches for the sledgehammer. They activate the Krasuka-4, a broadband electronic warfare station powerful enough to blind AWACS planes and fry low-orbit satellites. In the bunker, Oleg's FPV feed doesn't just glitch, it disintegrates. The screen turns into a wall of digital white noise. The telemetry link flatlines. His heart hammers against his ribs like a trapped bird. For a split second, he is flying blind in enemy territory. But this is exactly what they waited for. Instantly, the FP-1 drones stop listening to the outside world. The onboard neural networks activate, comparing the snowy terrain below with preloaded satellite maps. They are no longer flying by GPS, they are navigating by sight, recognizing landmarks like a local taxi driver. The Krasuka 4 is blasting enough energy to microwave the air, but it cannot jam a camera that is simply looking at a tree. Then, one of the sacrificial decoys programmed for this exact moment suddenly breaks formation near Vnukovo airport. It climbs vertically, intentionally lighting up the local Pantsir radar like a flare. The Russian gunner panics and slews the turret to engage the suicide runner. Boom! The decoy detonates just 50 meters from the radar vehicle. It's a small warhead, not enough to kill the truck, but the shrapnel and blast waves shatter the delicate phased array antenna and blind the optical sensors. The Pantsir is effectively blinded for 40 crucial seconds. At 05:12 a.m., the swarm stops moving as a single entity and fractures. Like a pack of wolves splitting up to hunt separate deer, the remaining drones diverge onto 4 distinct vectors, targeting Sheremetyevo, Domodedovo, Vnukovo, and Zhukovsky simultaneously. On the ground, panic has replaced arrogance. The Russian air defense grid is overwhelmed. Mobile Pantsir S-1 units are literally driving onto the active runways, swerving between parked airliners. Their 30mm cannons spin up, unleashing a torrent of high-explosive shells at the incoming shadows. Brrr. The sky lights up with tracers. They manage to clip 8 of the drones, sending them crashing into the tarmac in balls of fire. But it is a math problem, and Russia is losing. For every drone they shoot down, 2 more slip through the wall of lead. The air defense commander is screaming into his radio, his voice cracking with desperation. They are too low! The radar can't hold a lock! Fire manually! Just shoot at anything that moves! In the bunker, Oleg's knuckles are white as he grips the controller. 18 seconds, he counts down. Inside the airport terminals, the war finally arrives. The air raid sirens, which most Muscovites have ignored for months, suddenly cut through the holiday pop music. The realization hits the crowd like a physical wave. Passengers drop their expensive suitcases. Parents grab their children, who start screaming in the sudden chaos. The stampede begins. The comfortable illusion that the special military operation is something that happens far away to other people is about to be shattered by 265 pounds of high explosive reality. At 05:14 a.m., the surviving drones enter the blue zone, the terrifying dead space inside the minimum engagement range of the heavy Russian air defense systems. The massive S-400 batteries are now impotent statues. Their radar logic prevents them from firing at targets less than 500 meters away to avoid blowing themselves up. The billions of dollars of technology are rendered useless by simple proximity. The defense of Moscow's strategic arteries now falls to panicked conscripts with small arms. Tracers from AK-74 rifles stitch the pre-dawn darkness, a desperate and futile attempt to stop a 120-mile-per-hour projectile with a rifle bullet. It is like trying to stop a charging rhino with a BB gun. On Oleg's screen, the target is no longer a blip. It is a wall of steel. The Sheremetyevo fuel farm, a cluster of massive white tanks holding millions of gallons of Jet A1 kerosene, fills the entire field of view. The digital crosshair settles on the center tank. The telemetry reads, time to impact, 3 seconds. There is no more need for evasion. No more need for AI. It is just Newton's laws of motion playing out in their most violent form. Oleg stops typing. He stops breathing. He simply holds the stick steady, guiding the $58,000 investment toward its final dividend. At 05:15 a.m., the first FP-1 drone slams into the primary fuel storage tank at Sheremetyevo Airport. The physics of the impact are absolute. The 265-pound warhead triggers instantly. The detonation generates a shockwave of 500 pounds per square inch, PSI, turning the inch-thick steel walls of the storage tank into lethal shrapnel. Then comes the fire. Millions of gallons of Jet A1 kerosene ignite in a phenomenon known as a boiling liquid expanding vapor explosion. A fireball rises 200 feet into the pre-dawn sky, turning the dark winter morning into a blinding, hellish orange noon. The radiant heat is so intense it melts the asphalt on the taxiways 300 yards away. The explosion triggers a chain reaction, rupturing the second and third tanks in the cluster. For the pilots sitting in their cockpits waiting for de-icing, the world outside their windows just turned into an apocalypse. Simultaneously, across the city at Domodedovo, the second strike wing hits home. Katya's drone doesn't hit a fuel tank, it punches through the roof of a massive dual-use maintenance hangar. This warhead is different. It uses a tandem charge. The first stage punches a hole in the roof, and the second stage sprays a thermobaric aerosol cloud inside the enclosed space. When the main igniter fires, it consumes all the oxygen in the hangar instantly. The resulting vacuum implodes the structure, shattering the concrete walls and crushing the 4 aircraft inside, 2 military transport jets and 2 sanction-busting spare parts planes like empty soda cans. The shockwave blows out the glass windows of the main terminal half a mile away, sending shards raining down on the panicked crowds. Vnukovo and Zhukovsky aren't spared. Radar stations and refueling trucks erupt in secondary explosions. The result is immediate, total paralysis. The Civil Aviation Authority grounds all flights. Over 250 departures are canceled instantly. Tens of thousands of passengers desperate to get home for the holidays are trapped in terminals that are filling with smoke and the screams of panicked crowds. The illusion of safety, the idea that the war is something that happens far away in the Donbass, is shattered. The war is here, standing in the check-in line. Back in the bunker, Oleg releases the control sticks. His hands are still shaking, but he leans back in his chair, letting out a breath he feels like he's been holding for 3 years. He turns to his teammate, a tired smile breaking through the exhaustion. The damage assessment is catastrophic for the Kremlin. Hundreds of millions of dollars in infrastructure are gone. But the real cost is strategic. To stop this from happening again, Russia will have to pull S-400 and Pantsir batteries from the front lines in Ukraine to protect Moscow. Every air defense system sitting at Sheremetyevo is one less system protecting the trenches in Donetsk. So, here is the question for you. If you were sitting in Oleg's chair tonight, what would be your priority target? Would you hit the fuel farms to ground the fleet, or the maintenance hangars to destroy the aircraft permanently? Let me know your choice in the comments below, and I'll analyze the best answer in the next video.